Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today. We're about to dive into a very interesting topic: why your silence isn't making her miss you. On this first slide, I want to set the stage for what we'll explore. We'll look at common misconceptions about silence in relationships and understand why simply withdrawing isn't the answer. Over the next few slides, we'll uncover the real transformation needed to create meaningful connection. So, let's get started and see what really makes a difference. When we talk about silence in a relationship, it's important to understand what it really signifies. If all you're doing is just stopping communication, stopping talking to her, without making any real changes in your life, your habits, or your energy, you're not truly detaching. You're just waiting around. And let's be honest, waiting is not power. It's actually dependency hiding in plain sight. She doesn't miss silence itself. What she misses is the man you were when you brought value to her life. That's the key point. Silence without growth, it simply doesn't work. If you stay the same, she will notice that. When she comes back, she'll see that nothing has changed. That's why silence without growth doesn't produce the results you want. It signals stagnation, not strength. It's a clear message that you're not evolving, and that's not attractive or compelling. So, if you want to truly reconnect or create a positive change, silence must be paired with growth. Otherwise, all you're doing is communicating that nothing has changed, and that's not the message you want to send. When men go silent, it's common for them to secretly replay old memories, those moments of laughter, the trips, the I love yous. But here's the thing, that's often just fantasy, not the reality of what really happened. We tend to forget the lies, the disrespect, the pain we experienced. Instead, we focus on these idealized moments, and that selective memory keeps her alive in our minds long after the relationship has ended. The problem with that is, if you're feeding yourself these highlight reels, she doesn't actually need to miss you. You're the one maintaining her presence in your head, and that keeps you stuck. So the solution is to practice detachment, and that means remembering the full picture, not just the romanticized fragments. It's about seeing things clearly, including the difficult parts, so you can truly move forward. Let's talk about detachment and why simply thinking you're cut off might not be enough. One of the main reasons your silence isn't working is that you haven't truly cut her off. You might still be following her on social media, scrolling through her pictures, or leaving the door just a crack open. And here's the reality check. As long as she has even a tiny bit of access to you, she knows she's still in your orbit. That keeps you emotionally tied more than you realize. Real detachment means taking concrete steps, blocking her, deleting her contact, and removing any reminders or triggers that could tempt you back. Because, honestly, temptation is a silent destroyer of healing. When you leave those bridges intact, you're inadvertently allowing her to hold power over your emotions. True detachment is about removing everything that keeps the connection alive in your mind and heart, so you can genuinely move forward. You know, when you go silent and your chest feels empty, it's easy to think, I still love her. But that's not actually what's happening. What you're experiencing is withdrawal. Love, true love, feels peaceful and calm. But what you're feeling now is restless, uncomfortable. That's because you're detoxing. You're detoxing from her presence, from the routine you shared, and from the chemicals your brain was addicted to, those feelings and habits that kept you tied to her. When you go quiet, it's not about making her miss you. It's about facing those withdrawal symptoms without any plan to distract yourself. So, what you're really going through is a process of healing, of letting go, and understanding that the pain isn't love. It's your brain adjusting to life without her. So here's an important point. Habits don't just disappear when you try to break them. They need to be replaced. Silence, in this context, leaves an empty space. And as many of us know, nature hates a vacuum. That's when old habits tend to creep back in. Think about it. If you used to text her good morning daily, but now you find yourself just sitting there with your phone, doing nothing, your mind will start craving that connection again. That craving is the mind's way of seeking familiarity, even if it's not healthy anymore. So, what's the solution? It's not just about sitting in silence and hoping the urge goes away. That rarely works. Instead, you need to actively replace those old habits with new, healthier routines. For example, replace texting her with journaling your thoughts. or swap calling her for hitting the gym or engaging in a hobby. Instead of dwelling on past memories, focus on learning something new. Without creating new rhythms, the temptation to relapse back into old habits will be strong. So, it's all about intentionally substituting those habits with positive alternatives. This is how real change happens. What really matters is that she doesn't miss your silence itself, but rather the transformation you're going through. It's about the changes you're making, your growth, that she notices, not just the quiet moments. So if you want to level up everything, your mind, your body, your peace, your life, that new energy will become visible. And that's what she'll be drawn to. Now here's an important point. Growth in itself can be intimidating. But silence? No, she's not scared of silence. What she finds challenging is the growth happening quietly, growth that's unseen but felt. It's the rising, the becoming that can be intimidating because it's unfamiliar. She's not going to miss the man who's just waiting around, stuck in place. No, she'll miss the man who's actively rising, evolving, and becoming something greater. That's the energy that pulls her in. So, remember, it's about your transformation, not just the quiet moments. That's what truly captures her attention and her heart. When we tell ourselves things like, I can't live without her, or I need closure, we're actually trapping ourselves in a mental cage. Our words become a form of self-imposed limitation, feeding our weaknesses instead of empowering us. True detachment isn't about just staying silent or ignoring the situation. It's about what we say to ourselves. It's about speaking life into our own story, reminding ourselves that we were whole before this relationship and that we remain whole after it. Silence, in this context, isn't about ignoring the other person. It's about refusing to betray ourselves by repeating negative or limiting stories. Words shape our perception and our emotional freedom. If we want genuine detachment, we have to be mindful of the words we use about ourselves. Because in the end, words are powerful. They either keep us stuck or set us free. Now let's talk about why silence alone often fails. Silence doesn't make her miss you because, at its core, silence is passive. It's just the absence of action. But detachment, true detachment, is active. It's something you choose to do intentionally. If you're silent without working on healing, that can lead to bitterness. Silence without addressing your pain or growth keeps you stuck in negative emotions. And if silence isn't paired with developing new habits, it can lead to relapse, falling back into old patterns instead of moving forward. Similarly, silence without growth becomes irrelevant. It doesn't create the change you want to see or attract her back. It just leaves you where you are. What really makes her miss you is the man who reclaims his power. The guy who rebuilds his discipline and redirects his energy into becoming someone stronger, someone who's improved since she left. That's the key. It's not just about being silent or waiting around. It's about actively becoming a better man, stronger, more confident, more focused. That's what truly captures her attention and makes her miss you. So here, the final thought I want to leave you with. Detachment can be really scary because it pushes us to confront ourselves directly. It's not about trying to make her miss you, but rather about reaching a point where you no longer miss her. When your inner peace starts to outweigh your pain, and your growth transforms you into someone unrecognizable compared to your old self, that's a powerful shift. At that moment, you stop caring whether she misses you or not, and here's the interesting part. Ironically, that might be when she actually begins to miss you. But by then, you'll be so far ahead in your journey that looking back won't even matter. This is the core of the overall theme. True growth often involves detaching from the need for external validation and finding peace within, which ultimately leads to a better future, one where you're truly moving forward, regardless of what others are doing or feeling.